Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good evening, my friends. This is Geraldo Lemos Neto. I'm here with Marco Gandra from Portal Saber Espiritismo in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. We are transmitting live for Kardec Radio, Spiritism Dissemination, and Discover Spiritism Network. Tonight, we are doing the program to know Spiritism number 75 that will talk about the second part of the life of Leon Denis, his youth, all his adventures and trials at the young age. Last week, we talked about his childhood until he moved to the Pays de Loire. Now you can see a forest of the Pays de Loire, and the young Leon Denis and his parents moved again to the city of Tours. His father becomes head of works on the Montluçon to Limoges railways line. Then, because of that, the Denis family came to settle in the city of Tours definitely. We can see at the left hand side the last part of this trip from the southern part of France until the city of Tours, right in the middle next to Britain. We found a saying by the young Leon Denis when he was 16 years old. He wrote, "When I was 16 years old," he wrote, "in a fiancerie in the city of Tours, I carried the baskets with the products on my back when they were removed from the oven." So he had a very difficult life at that time, working in this fiancerie and taking the products from the oven and carry them on his own back. After that, he was enrolled in the Mr. Groujon's adult course. And everything attracted him to geographic studies. No doubt, already dreamed of trips and long excursions. So he was very fond of geography, and he liked it very much to study geography. And of course, we know after some years he would travel all over Europe regarding his speeches and works with the Spiritist doctrine. But not at this time. He was a very young boy. Then his parents aged, and as he talks to us, wrote to us, "I was forced to earn my bread and that of my old parents during the day, and I devoted many nights to studies in order to complete my knowledge. Hence, the premature weakening of my eyes." So we learn from himself that he had problems with his eyes since the very early ages of his adulthood because of the nightly studies that he was forced to endure, because during the day he had to earn the bread of each day, not for himself alone, but also uh, to give his own parents. Then, after a while, he was employed at the Casa Pie in the city of Tours. The Casa Pie was a leather company. His intelligence draws the attention of the owner, and so that he was put responsible for all the correspondence and also for the accounting. He works by day and studies at night, and he loved to study geography, history, and natural sciences. His attention at that time was focused on knowledge. He had no other masters besides his invisible advisors and mentors who, without a doubt, had their eyes on him. So he was a self-learning young man, trying hard to understand the world, science, and natural science, history, geography at that time in the 19th century France. If, as Plato once, learning is remembering, Leon Denis recalled with a constantly renewed enchantment. Of course, we may think that he was already a wise spirit before he was born, and he was only remembering what himself had in his culture, in his mind, in his spirit. Asks himself and the philosophers, the enigma of life presented itself to his spirit with an imperative force, and he was not a man to bow to the dogma of it cannot be known. So, since his early ages of adulthood, he was always asking about the spirit, what we came to be in this earthly world, why we were here, what we are doing here, and what comes next after this life. So he had philosophy in his mind and was a seeker of truth since his early ages of adulthood. Of course, he could not accept the doctrines of the Catholic Church or even the Protestant Church that gave all the people at that time a pack of responses that were not able to convince him. There is a concern in him that the study cannot call, an inner call. So he had this inner call to seek spiritualism, to seek the spiritual world, to understand the philosophy of life, and to seek a greater religion to himself. The problem that usually the man only faces in the hours of agony or serious illness, and that soon he tries to forget, as soon as the destination smiles again, of that the health returned, or that the health returns to him. So he didn't need suffering, he didn't need illness or any kind of agony to seek for the truth, to seek for the spiritual world, because he himself had an inner call to seek those higher thoughts and higher feelings that gave him, after a while, a strong responsibility towards Spiritism. The man throws himself to pleasure. All of the men at his time, and even nowadays, gets drunk with sensuality to escape the idea of death without ever being able to avoid his memory or this memory, because deep down he realizes that this is an essential issue. So since his youngest ages, Leon Denis realizes that the that there is an essential issue of our lives, and this issue is regarding to the reality of the spirit and the surviving of the spirit after death. And also he himself thought that we could come to this world with higher grounds of experiences from other lives. So as it is learning, says Plato, what is wisdom? It is learning to die, according to Plato, that we know of as being one of Allan Kardec's previous lives. And Leon Denis was very fond of the study of Plato. So Plato would used to say that wisdom is the learning to die. And what is life? According to Seneca from the Roman Empire, life, it is a meditation on death. So we can see that Leon Denis was profoundly fond of the spirituality, even in his early ages of adulthood. He wrote, I had already gone through the alternatives of Catholic belief and materialistic skepticism, but I had nowhere found the solution to the mystery of life. So he wrote about his struggle to find spirituality. And then one day, when he was only 18 years of age at that time, he got the chance to see the Spirit's book for the first time, which sometimes works well, drew his attention to a book with an unusual and disturbing title, Le Livre des Spirites, the Spirit's book. So he was working at this place in the city of Tours, And he passed through a library and saw this book that called his attention because of the title, Le Livre des Spirites, the Spirit's Book. As his biographer Gaston Luce wrote, Leon Denis will maintain this habit of stopping willingly more often in front of display cases full of books than in front of pastry shops. So he was a compulsive reader and would always stop in front of a bookshop looking to find new ways to achieve knowledge and wisdom. And in one of these happy days, when he was only 18 years of age, he found in this bookshop the Spirit's Book by Allan Kardec. As of course we all know, this was the first book of Spiritism that Allan Kardec himself wrote and published in Paris at the 18th of April, 1857. And years later, the young Leon Denis would find a copy of this first edition in a bookshop at his town of Tours in the middle of France. And he wrote about his first experience with Spiritism. I immediately purchased the book and assimilated its contents. I found in it a clear, complete, logical solution to the universal problem of existence. My conviction has taken hold. The Spirit's theory dispelled my indifference and my doubts. And so that from this young age of 18 years old, by his first contact was the first Spiritist book, the first one that was published by Allan Kardec. He was immediately convinced. He was just found the truth and assimilated all its contents with joy in his heart and enlightenment in his mind. As he himself said, I found in it a clear, complete, and logical solution to the universal problem of existence. I hope you enjoyed this second program on the life of Leon Denis. The next week, we are going to continue and talk about, in the third program, about his contact with Allan Kardec himself. Hope you have a very good night. See you next week. Bye-bye.